Thanks for tuning in to the Women's Vibrancy Code, a podcast dedicated to helping women move from exhausted to energized, balance their hormones, and feeling turned on by their life, their lover, and themselves. I'm your host, Maraya Brown. I'm a Yale and functional medicine trained women's health expert, midwife, mom, keynote speaker, and self-made entrepreneur. I'm the founder of my signature program, the Women's Vibrancy Code. So sit back, relax, and let's chat about your energy, hormones, libido, and embracing your feminine power. Oh, and you might want to have pen and paper to take some notes on some of these episodes. For those of you that don't know who I am, if you're like, I've ended up on this workshop, a lot of people that I'm seeing registered, you've been attending a number of my things. You've been to a workshop, you might maybe taken one of my courses or been in a program, you've been to one of my retreats. And so hopefully you're familiar with who I am. If you're not, my name is Maraya Brown. I'm a Yale and functional medicine trained certified nurse midwife, and my work is all online. I work with women that are hungry to feel spectacular, hungry to have big impact in the world, and to do it without burnout. So instead, to feel absolutely spectacular. I say that I help women feel turned on by their life, their lover, and themselves. And I am a midwife. I've been attending births since 2000. And when I look back at my childhood, I was the one up watching the puppies and the kittens being born. I think I've been a midwife my whole life. And you're like, wait, what? It's all online. How do you do that? I don't attend births anymore. But I midwife women through chapters of change, and I host in-person retreats. And so I still get to be the one holding the container, so to speak, and really helping women along that journey to be in their total power and their surrender and their trust. And it's fascinating. There's many ambitious women that will come into one of my things. I say my space, which I don't own this space, but into my space. And sometimes they're like, what do you mean? Surrender is powerful? Yes, my friend. Any woman out there, if you're questioning whether or not surrender is powerful, attend some births. Like, oh yeah, that's so easy. I'm just going to go attend some births. So if that's not so easy, just trust me when I say, when a woman really surrenders to birth, it's when her power shows up. That lioness roars and she brings life into this world. And there aren't words that I can put to it. I've attended hundreds of births. And so now I help women surrender in different ways and really own their power. And so yesterday we talked about what can that look like to kind of get out of our way and really own our power through health. I left brick and mortar. So I used to run the women's health in lots of settings, right? I ran the women's health in a federally funded clinic and a functional medicine private practice, where you walk in and there's a fountain and 30 tea options. People are like, why did you leave that? Well, I left for a few reasons. One of the big things was I felt like I could give women solutions, but it was like I was just giving them fish. I never had the opportunity to teach them how to fish. And I love that analogy. And being able to come online, I now have time with women that it's not by geography, it's by energetic alignment and by shared vision. And so there's women all over the world that now work with me, and I have the esteemed privilege of supporting them. And many women love to learn. And so I go, here, yes, I can help you experience the changes that you're looking for. And if you're inspired to, let me help you understand why what I'm suggesting is working, so that 5 years down the road, if something similar comes up and you don't have me in your back pocket, you have the education that is with you forever. And so it goes to, what do I value? I value quality time. I value life experiences. I value deep relationships and time together. So yesterday I had conversations with women. There was one, she's a somatic worker. She works a lot in the sexuality world and ironically has no libido. It's like, but she said, "Oh no, 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 no. I already take care of my health." Okay. But nobody has ever looked at her any labs. I'm like, okay, you do somatic work, you take care of your health. Is it possible that maybe we could find this like missing link by looking at your actual hormones to explain the libido piece? And she's like, well, you can do that? Yes, girl, that's what I do. All right. Another woman, her mood has been up and down, just feeling like this is impacting my confidence out in the world for 16 years. And she's gone and seen providers, and I'm like, oh my gosh, injections, pellets, crap labs. And now she's feeling lost. She's feeling disheartened. I'm like, all right, girl, I got you. I got you. Like this, those conversations are hard for me, but it's also, I feel this overwhelming gratitude that, all right, we're here, right? There are still solutions out there for you. And if you're someone who feels like you've tried all the things, my friend, keep trying. And maybe you've just looked in the wrong spots. But there is someone out there for you that that energetically aligns, and you get to feel heard and seen. And those solutions that you, no, those problems that you uncovered yesterday, there's a solution out there. Okay, there's a solution out there. So, um, I was thinking about like of the women that I've helped over the years, the change. There's no words that can describe it. Like I was thinking, there's two women, one in her 60s, one in her 30s, who came into one of my programs and had never had an orgasm in all of their life. Yes, of course that's changed, but it's not just that that's changed. That it's like the light bulbs have come on in the room, and their relationships have transformed, and their relationship with their career is transformed, and their wardrobe is transformed, and how they are felt in the room becomes potent and palpable and powerful, right? For a woman who said, for the first time in all of my life, I love myself. Okay. Yes, she lost 80 pounds. Yes, the bloating went away. Yes, she finally had answers and released a lot of old trauma and old stories. But she said, I love myself for the first time in my life. And so tomorrow and throughout the rest of the week, I'm going to be bringing in real women that will share their stories. And it's those stories. Of course, I want you to walk away from this workshop with inspiration and hope and some tangible education and solutions. But I also want you to hear from real women what that signifies. For the woman who picked up and left and moved across the country and is happier than ever. Because once again, when we get all of the emotional labor out of the way, that is the block. When our health is not there, when the anxiety, the depression, the body aches, the exhaustion, the sleep deprivation, whatever it is for you, when that is what's playing out, I think of it as emotional labor that plays in the background and it gets in the way. And when we finally have the esteemed privilege of moving that out of the way, the lights turn on and you're like, oh, wow, oh, hey, hi, look at this relationship that I'm in. Are there ways to up level it? You look yourself in the mirror and go, oh, there I am. Who else do I want to be? What's my passion in the world? What do I want to do with my career? Women change careers and they negotiate new contracts and they go, I never in all my wildest dreams thought I could be that good. They pick up and they move because they feel spectacular and they have the confidence. And now they're in that cycle of empowerment over and over again. And they have new hope for the future. Okay. So hopefully everybody has your workbook. Let's get right into the law of rhythm. How can I use it to my advantage in my leadership, libido, and relationships? Okay, I could talk about this for probably the entire time, and I'm gonna just allow myself to pace myself today. We have an hour and a half together again. If we don't make it through the whole workbook, it's all good. We have tomorrow, we have the bonus session on Thursday for Q&A. I could always add an extra session if somebody's like, or you just reach out to me and go, what about this thing that you didn't cover on the workbook? But I really want to make sure that we get that it's covered thoroughly and you all feel like, I've got this. Okay. Because we are dynamic beings. Okay. We are blessed with cycles. And for those of us that are still bleeding, please honor we have that piece of evidence to follow. Okay. For those that are no longer bleeding, maybe because of contraception or you're beyond menopause, we use other evidence. Okay. Such as irritability, energy level, body aches, libido, creativity, constipation, desire to socialize, feeling external versus feeling internal. Okay. It's cyclic, my friends. I promise. And for those of you that are on hormonal contraception, it is slightly shifted, but it's still there. And even if you're on the patch or the ring or the pill, and that bleeding is just a withdrawal bleed, it's different. And so we get to navigate this in a really personalized way for you. And the place to start is to track, like really to track. So fascinating. I was thinking about a client. She was with me for years and she had a Mirena. She loved the Mirena. And about once a month, she'd want to break up with her husband or her boyfriend. And it was both. It was a husband and then they separated and then ended up being a boyfriend. That's why I say both. And she finally, we looked at her Dutch test. I was like, girl, look, like it's time. Let's come up with another form of contraception. So she had the Mirena taken out. And I just had a conversation with her this week. And she was like, you know what? You're right. She goes, I've been tracking now. And it's rhythmic. It's cyclic. It's the same time every month. I have this big ah! And so now we get to preemptively plan for it. And for her, it made a big difference to have that bleeding time. But I want you to know it does not have to mean that you have to bleed. If you go into my Instagram page, which is _ Mariah Brown _ in the bio, the link in the bio, I have a free download, which is the menstrual tracker. I really encourage that you grab that, you download it, you utilize it. And it gives just a laundry list of all the different things that we can track. Okay. And I also want to say out loud, contraception is important. Okay. You having ownership of your fertility, if you know that you don't want to get pregnant right now and you're sexually active, by no means am I suggesting that you stop contraception. Okay. I will say for the right individual who's willing to really know her body, my preference is non-hormonal contraception. And I have run a teen clinic and I ran a Planned Parenthood and I've prescribed lots and lots of contraception. I've put in probably 100 IUDs, maybe more. I mean, so like I get it. We get to have ownership, but it does kind of shift the conversation a tad. Okay. So the menstrual cycle can be seen as a way to awaken an internal process that takes us to the most intimate places within ourselves. Okay? Hear this. Intimate places within ourselves. I think we spend so much of our lives externally. I'm like, holy macaroni, the Instagram messages, the Facebook messages, the emails, the bombardment and things happening so dang fast. Aaliyah, you don't have to admit the note taker just as or you can. Okay. It's all good. And it's a unifying consciousness. Okay. The feminine in action. It's a big, bold source of connection. And it's so ironic. Marissa, I see you. You just, your timing is perfect. I know you're going to be like, oh, she's talking that woo-woo stuff again. Yes, I am. I'm actually talking about our menstrual cycle being that thing that is our femininity and its full expression, even beyond menopause. And it is a source of us connecting with one another as women. And so today I'm going to kind of get into leadership, libido, and relationships and how we can really be potent and powerful and profound in those areas by honoring this cycle. So when I think about women in our 20s and our 30s, our cycle supports our agency, our ambition, our vitality, our experimentation and goals and learning, and we assert our desires and we really start building. It's a time where we declare, this is me. And it's always so fun for me when women in their 20s and 30s come in and they start consuming the content that I give, because I'm like, yeah. Because what I hear on the other end is women in their 50s and 60s and 70s, often in tears, say, I wish I would have known this stuff. And so if that's you and you're here consuming it, I applaud you. And if you're inviting your daughters and your nieces and sharing this, I applaud you. Okay, so then for women in our 40s and 50s, I'm 45. It's a time of more depth. Okay, it has more complexity. It has more subtlety. We feel a little bit more comfortable being able to be in the space of the unknown, and we become a lot more unapologetic. Okay, it's less about the ego and it's more about meaning of life on the planet, right? We start, hopefully, at some point, um, thinking about global responsibility, right? In a fierce way. And each month we ride the currents of a cycle that is a kind of a mini version of life's journey. Okay. I think of the time in our 40s. So listen, average age of menopause is 51 and a half. Most women enter perimenopause as early as 35. They just don't know it. And perimenopause can last as long as like 35 to 55. How do we know we're in menopause? Well, we go 12 months without bleeding. Unless you are on some contraception that's preventing you from bleeding, then we have to find another way to know. Okay. And I think of that perimenopause chapter as kind of like the other bookend of puberty. It's when the caterpillar grows into the chrysalis, and you know what happens? It becomes goo. Goo. Like, what the fuck? Who am I? I don't know. Where did my feet go? I don't have any wings. And that caterpillar, when it's in the chrysalis, takes on multiple versions of, let me try on these wings. Yeah, no, maybe. Oh, I don't know. No, okay, go back to goo. This is uncomfortable. And in that, women reach out to me and they're putting on weight, and there is new anxiety, and there's new sleep disturbances, and sometimes new depression, and feeling like, I think I want to change careers. I think I want to move. I don't know. Right. And we're just like, yeah, how spectacular. And then menopause, that final phase, the feeling, the readiness of a woman's spirit to claim their wild power. It's like stepping off a cliff, so to speak. And I haven't done it yet, but I have a lot of clients who have. And I hear these stories, I hear these themes. I'm stepping off the cliff. And the butterfly is emerging, and there's the wings. And it requires great courage. Okay. For this woman, she has cycled for decades. And so she knows, hopefully, what that was like to cycle. And I heard, as I was reading a book, and it said the mother of ego deaths is menopause, the fully integrated calling into the world. And for some, their world blows apart, especially for those who did not spend the time in preparation. Okay. And what does preparation look like? It looks like really caring for our adrenals, really listening into our rhythms. And I'm going to get there, I promise. Really making sure that we're kind of sweeping out under the rug and addressing that old trauma that's there. And we have Christy here on the call. I'll make sure, hopefully today, Christy, we can have you share screen and or share your face and your voice. And so then beyond menopause, the dust is settled. We look back, and and I will get to do this too. I'll get to look back and see the divine choreography that has delivered me to that rightful place. Makes me feel emotional. So for those of you that have arrived and you are looking back at the divine choreography, I honor you. And still we have rhythms because the moon pulls tides and we are changing. So, and I have women like the really ambitious, they're like, I don't want to hear that crap. Don't tell me to relax. I'm happy with my contraception. I'm happy not bleeding. I want to fit the 9 to 5, go, 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 do, do, do. And I say, you know what? I'm going to call your bluff. It will not work. It will not work. Because what ends up happening is then you'll come knocking on my door and I burnt the candle at both ends and now I feel like crap. Or stuff that's like I don't even want to talk about, but stuff that's really not fun. The cancers, the illnesses. We want to make sure that we're getting in there and shifting this before that point. Okay. Okay. So I think I might do a share screen so I can write this down because except my handwriting is so horrible. Let's talk about the seasons. Okay, here's what you're gonna write down. Yeah, I am. I'm gonna try to do a share screen. Let's see how we can do this. Let's see if I can make my handwriting pretty for today. Down. Let's say spring. And I'm sitting down today, so maybe my handwriting will be a little bit better. Summer, fall, winter. Okay, we can all relate to that, right? Even if you live in Hawaii or LA, I lived there too. We can still relate to this idea of seasons. So spring, this is known as our follicular phase. Follicular. Or it's the waxing or waning moon. And this is estrogen. This is our estrogen time. So this is generally day like 6 to 12 of a cycle. Okay. Day 1 is the first day that you bleed. That would be your winter time. So that's day 1 to 6. Okay. But I'm starting with spring because that's where we are right now. So what is estrogen? I'm going to stop taking notes and just let you write these down. So estrogen is proliferative. Estrogen is out in the world. Estrogen is creative. So from the perspective of leadership, if you can mirror this time this is the time to put your creative ideas out for the team to talk through, to throw it out with your friends and gosh, here's what I was thinking, right? This is the time when the lights are bright and we are out in the world. The flowers are blooming, okay? It is a proliferative time. Follicular phase, for those that are still menstruating, this is the time when your uterine lining is building, okay? Estrogen builds. It builds breast tissue, okay? Estrogen builds. Estrogen is really resilient to big exercise. So this is the time where you want to push yourself. You want to lift weights. You want to run the marathon. You want to climb the steep mountain. Like this is good. This is the time. You feel more flirtatious. You think about little buds poking out. Hey, hey, ladies. Hey, men out there. La, la, la. Right? That kind of feeling. And so from a libido perspective, you're generally feeling more turned on. You're ready. You're hungry. For your relationships, you want to be out in the world. You want to go to the parties. You want to do the things. Okay. Whereas summer, here, this is say day 12 to day 16. This is actually the shortest of all the cycles or chapters. This is generally going to be the full moon or the new moon. And I say one or the other, you're going to pay attention. For me, I always bleed on the full moon. For you, you might always bleed on the new moon, okay? But summertime is when it's all coming out. That is when we have estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone at their peak. At their peak. So this is generally when we feel the best. If you have the chance to publish a book, you're going to get that TED Talk. That's the time to see if you can book it, if you have control over it. Ironically, whenever I do these workshops, I always line it up so that I'm doing it during my ovulatory time. Oh, I didn't write that down. This is ovulatory. This is a V, that's a U. Ovulatory time. You're ovulating. Libido is the highest. You feel lean. Generally, you're going to feel a lot less puffy, a lot less bloated. You want to put on the thong undies and the cute bra, and you've got the lip gloss, and people smell you. They feel you while you walk down the street, and you're like, yeah, no, I got it. I got it. This is the time to put it into action, whatever it may be. These ideas that have been percolating, you have decided, you've listened in, that in an ideal world from a leadership perspective, that's the time you put it into action. It is also the time where you can lift the heaviest of weights. For those of you that do intermittent fasting, springtime and summertime, your follicular and your ovulatory, your waxing, waning. For those of you that are not bleeding, really, truly, I know, I'm thinking of Marissa. I know you're rolling your eyes at me, but girl, you got to listen to this. um, there's value. Track for just a little bit. If you've stopped bleeding, track for just a little bit. A little bit meaning like 3 months. And pay attention to where is the moon, and you are going to see a rhythm. And what happens is when we start listening into this rhythm and honoring it, it is spectacular to see what changes. I have seen menstrual cramps go away. I have seen women step into their power and their confidence. I have seen relationships recover. A lot more self-acceptance. Okay. So in that summertime, it's at its peak. All the hormones are high. Our body is resilient. You could go out and somebody could call you all the bad names and you're like, yeah, whatever. I got this. I'm hot. Right. Whereas when we go into fall time, this is known as our luteal phase if you're ovulating. This is progesterone dominated. Progesterone. And this is going to be back the waning or the waxing moon. Think about fall. Okay, the leaves are falling. It's a little bit quiet. It's getting a little bit cold. We think about Thanksgiving. We want to circle around with those that are closest to us and love us the most. We feel a little bit more tender. Okay. And this is progesterone driven. I think of progesterone as like satin. Okay. It makes us sleep well. It makes us happy. It maintains pregnancy if you're pregnant. Okay. It is soothing if you have big swings with depression, anxiety, just mood swings during this is also the PMS week. Generally, the extreme PMS is going to be from a big discrepancy between that estrogen and progesterone. Okay. And this is the time when the lights start dimming a little bit. And what I mean by that is not in a bad way. We start going more inside. So springtime is outside, out in the world, out socializing, throwing the parties, brainstorming with everyone. Fall time is that time to start quieting down. We have that inner critic, and the viper critic comes out during this time, but it does it for a reason. This is the time where we get to really feel the feels, feel the irritability, allow the critic to speak to us, and we get the opportunity to listen. And what happens is when women don't listen, then the critic starts showing up in other areas in springtime and summertime and wintertime. And it also has a much more sharp viper to it. So in that progesterone driven time, now I will say, if you're beyond menopause, the main thing that stimulates the production of progesterone is ovulation. So if you're beyond menopause, you're not ovulating, which means you're not producing progesterone. If you're on the pill, the patch, or the ring, or the Mirena, you're not ovulating. So your body's not producing progesterone. Okay. We want progesterone. Okay. And some people say, well, I got a prescription for progesterone. I'm on the mini pill. Progesterone is in my contraception. That's not progesterone. That's something called progestin. And from a pharmaceutical standpoint, they call it progesterone. But it's not the same. and it's localized just to the uterus. And it actually does not give us the benefits of progesterone. It instead sends our adrenals into hyperdrive. And now we've lost the negative feedback loop and we're like, cortisol, cortisol, cortisol. Ah! Okay. So, once again, contraception is important if you are taking ownership of your fertility. And I really want you to hear loud and clear that the progestins in a lot of these contraceptions, in my opinion, are not serving you potentially. And we can have a conversation for that to be personalized. So now we have our PMS time, our fall time, where we do want to go inside a little bit more. We have our inner council, right? I spoke about inner council yesterday. We have our go-to people that we trust for our business and for our marriage and for our health and for how we show up as parents and our spirituality and our somatic work and our trauma release work, whatever that may be. We go to our inner council and we quiet down a little bit. We allow it to be a little bit more internal. And this does not mean that libido is lower during the fall time. It's just different. Okay. From a libido perspective, this is a time, if you're in relationship, for your partner to really understand the nurturing that is often needed and the foreplay that that goes a long way when it's throughout the day and the week. You know, you think about your love language. If your love language is gifts, during our fall time, getting flowers in the morning or a really sweet card goes a long way. Feeling heard, feeling seen. This is a time where we want to feel nurtured, okay? Progesterone is the hormone that makes life. It maintains life. It's very creative. The other thing to know about progesterone is it hides in the context of stress. So high cortisol, no progesterone. High cortisol, no libido either. So for the woman who does intermittent fasting, this is not the time. For the woman who loves to do really big exercise, lift big weights, climb big mountains, not really the time. There's a reason why we're craving carbohydrates and chocolate, and we want to curl up under a blanket and read a good book by a fireplace. We are rhythmic, dynamic beings. And listen, this is the Vibrant CEO. We've got ambitious women in this space and we're juggling lots of things. You've got kids, you've got careers, you've got things. And so maybe there's going to be 1 month, 2 month, 3 months where it's really difficult to mirror this. Like right now, I'm in my fall time. And here I am doing this workshop. Fascinating. Doesn't really align, but I'm doing it slightly different today. I'm like, I'm going to sit. And I've shared more stories. I'm going to share a little bit more heart. I'm going to slow down a little bit. And for those of you that have been to some of my other workshops, you might feel the difference in my energy. When I'm doing this during my summertime, it's high, it's on, it's crunk. Kind of, I guess. I want to think that people see it that way. See, there was me in my luteal phase. Please, little puppy dog. Okay. So libido, leadership. And what's the other thing? Oh yeah, love relationships. I've talked about all three of those. Wintertime. If you are bleeding, this is, oh, got it. Go back. Got it. Go back. Go back. Stop share. I got quiet. Start share again. Okay. Okay. I got to remember to write down. Okay. If we're in our winter time, this is once again day 1 through day 6. If you're bleeding, so this is bleeding time. If you're no longer bleeding, you're going to notice if you ovulate on the new moon, then you're in your winter time and your full moon. This is the time to rest. Like really actually rest. And what happens is if we push through and we grin and bear it, take some ibuprofen because the cramps are too hard, or I don't have time to be still, I promise you it will come back and bite you. This is the time where our intuition is the strongest. So this is high intuition. 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 This is an O. This is an N. Intuition. I love my handwriting here. Watch. Okay. There, let's try that again. Intuition. ION. There. we um we have a knowing. We as women, we have a knowing. And we get to listen into it. And I actually believe this is woo woo. I actually believe that we as womb holders, even if your uterus has been removed, we have a connection with one another. You know how they're now studying trees and how root systems underneath are actually connected? I actually think that we have some form of connection like that. It's fascinating. Women will end up bleeding at the same time when they spend a lot of time together. So that's the time when our intuition is the strongest. Okay. It's the time when we get to quiet down and listen in and really get clarity on that thing, that business I'm thinking about launching, that shift I'm thinking about creating, the ways I want my relationship to feel different. That's the time to really listen in. When I quiet down, what is it that my heart desires? What is it that my inner knowing really says? Okay. And sometimes it might take a few cycles, and that's okay. Okay. The winter time, I feel like we are reminded that we don't have to be nice. Like many women have this kind of like Judeo-Christian guilt shame thing, stories of women are supposed to be seen and not heard. And I think during that bleeding time, we are reminded of how incorrect that is. We actually get to really feel our wild, loud, potent, powerful selves, but to do it in solace. It's not the time in an ideal world to take the trip, to attend the party, to go to the thing. So we get to go, all right, what can I shave away? Is there something I can take off my schedule? Okay, let me look at the chat. Are you going to mention any recommendations for progesterone if in menopause? Oh, yeah, good question. So, progesterone in menopause, from a supplemental standpoint, you can try chaste tree berry, which is also known as Vitex, or wild yam cream. I would do it daily. And I love that you brought this up because I just was interacting with someone again yesterday. I'm like, what the fuck? Her OBGYN put her on estrogen and did not also give her progesterone. Okay, my friends, there is something called estrogen dominance. Okay, we don't want unopposed estrogen. When I look at your Dutch test and we look at how your body is getting rid of estrogen, that's really important and it has to be balanced with progesterone. So beyond menopause, I'm not opposed to bioidentical hormones. If you're put on estrogen, please make sure you're also put on progesterone, but not progestin. It's got to be progesterone. Okay, the bioidentical kind, usually an oral pill. And if you're not looking for bioidenticals, you can try wild yam cream on a daily basis. You can try chaste tree berry on a daily basis. Also, honoring this rhythmic nature. I know it sounds woo-woo and crazy, but it's true. Okay, even if you're not bleeding, you're still having these rhythms. And as you start tracking, you're going to go, oh my goodness, Maraya was right. They're not as extreme, but they're still there. Okay. In the chat, key takeaways so far. How does that sit for you? What is it? What is something big that you heard? In the chat, in the chat. I want to see it in the chat. I see people typing. Robin, I love your pink. Marissa, how you feeling? Okay. I need to figure out all the things. I'm wondering. Oh, that went by. Wait, where'd it go? I lost it. Need to figure out all the things. I wonder if my numbness comes from not knowing my cycle. Antidepressants, mood stability. Yeah, possibly. Yeah. Um, and I'm glad right now I have the esteemed privilege of giving you the support, and we're gonna get there. Step by step, we'll get there. A reminder that I need to track and the benefit of building and planning my month's activities around my cycles, game changer. Yeah. Especially for those of us that own our schedules. And if you're not someone who owns your schedule, you still get to set boundaries, even if it's just adjusting how you exercise. I could talk about how we eat and what we eat, as well as how you dress. Like think about that fall time and the PMS time. We want soft fabrics. That's not the time to wear your tight suit and your tight jeans. Something just as forgiving as that. Okay, my mind is blown. I've never heard of any of this, but my golly, I've felt it. Oh, yay. It feels difficult to track without bleeding being postmenopause. Would you be willing to share the document here for those of us without Instagram? Aaliyah, would you be open to popping that in the chat, pretty please? The menstrual tracker. I would appreciate it. Typically meh every day. We're gonna shift that. This is new to me. I want to learn more. Good, good. Honoring the cycles. It's hard for me also with my hormones all over the place. I generally was a 22-day cycle. Right. So this is assuming a 28-day cycle. Right. If you're on a 34-day cycle or a 24-day cycle, we're going to make some adjustments. Okay. But the big thing is for you to get to know you. That's why I keep saying in the midst of this gets to be personalized. Okay, this is not like some cookie cutter, go on this diet. Here's the prescriptions that you're going to take. We get to have personalized care. All right. Okay. I could talk about that forever. Okay, moving on in the workbook, and please reach out to me. We're good. And let me put the link in the chat again. Okay. For those of you that have not yet filled out the call booking application, just fill the dang thing out. Even if you're like, I don't even know what I want. I don't know. Maybe she costs too much. Maybe I don't have the time. Just fill the dang thing out. We get to co-create a personalized plan. Okay, the application is in the chat. Okay, so talking about peak experiences. Deep sense of impact. How are these affected by my hormones? All right. So when we think about our peak experiences, we want to feel spectacular, right? So when you get quiet right now with what have been some of my peak experiences? Would have been those moments when I was at Disneyland with my daughter and it smelled like baked cookies. For some of you, that might seem very random, but it's not. There's a reason I said that. For me, it's been trips. You know, the last 2 summers, I took my family on a 2-month trip. And my kids are now 10, 9, and 5, and they have those memories with them for the rest of their life. For me, I really like intimate, deep, loving, close relationships. Okay, for you, what are peak experiences? Dance parties? Your dream home? Right? And how often do we see people beyond retirement with their health failing and they say they wish they would have? Right? You hear of people that, die on a bed of money having never used it. Peak experiences. Like, why do we want our health? So we can have peak experiences. I'm thinking on Thursday, Chris Kinney is going to come in and share. He's one of my VIP clients. Man, I am excited for you guys to hear what he has to share. But just like the peak experiences that he was looking for, and all the providers that he saw, and all the tests that were done, and finally just coming to me saying, I'm at a loss. And bam, one conversation, I'm like, I know what it is. And now he's back to peak experiences and he's in the midst of a workshop right now. Anyway, so why are we doing this in the first place, right? We're looking for a deep sense of impact. I know every one of you. You want a deep sense of impact. You want your zone of genius to be relayed out in the world so that you have a ripple effect in the world. You want to have a deep sense of impact on your children if you have children, in your community, and potentially a big legacy. So write this down. Write this down. One without their health has but one dream. One with their health has many. I'll say it again. One without their health has but one dream. One with their health has many. Okay? So what's the ultimate power move? We have to have our health. Okay? Is there an arrival point? No. Can you eat too many vegetables? No. Can you feel too good? No. Can you sleep too much? Maybe. Okay, and just because you've been told that everything looks normal, you've gone and you've had blood tests and they're like, I don't know, it does not mean that everything's normal. I want you to really listen in to what you're feeling, okay? I always say just because it's common doesn't mean it's normal. I was at I went to a graduation in Ohio. I think that was last weekend. Oh my God, I don't know, 2 weekends ago. And then a few weeks before that, I was at a wedding up in Northern Oregon, up near Portland. And it's so fascinating. At the wedding in Portland, my mom wasn't there. She didn't go because she hasn't prioritized her health. And she wasn't there on the dance floor. She wasn't there. This is gonna make me cry. I grew up with 7 cousins. We all grew up like siblings, and we all got a picture of all of us together. And my mom wasn't there to see it. I'm like, damn it. Like, then I go to this graduation in Ohio. There's 26 of us that all flew in. And my dad, who's turning 80 in January, is out on the dance floor, down on the floor with the kids wrestling, right? No matter the wealth, we have to take care of ourselves because I want you to have the peak experiences, to stop burning the candle at both ends. And so when we talk about the peak experiences that are impacted by hormones, I'm not going to write it down anymore. Okay, it's thyroid. Write this down. Thyroid, sex hormones, cortisol, and dopamine, serotonin, melatonin. I'm going to write this down for you in the chat. Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to. Okay, I'm going to write it down for you guys. Okay, I'm going to write it down for you guys. I'm going to do a share screen because you're like, I don't know how to spell dopamine. Okay, so we want to talk about our thyroid, our sex hormones. So I've already talked about estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. Those are our sex hormones. You also hear about a hormone called DHEA. This actually isn't a sex hormone. It comes from our adrenals, but it's the precursor. It converts to estrogen and testosterone, as well as a little bit to progesterone. And then we have cortisol. This is fight, flight, or freeze. Fight, flight, freeze. That's a G. All right. I love that we have note takers in the world. And then we have dopamine, serotonin, melatonin. Okay. And then if I have time, we can talk briefly about vitamin D and insulin. These are the big ones. So how do these impact our ability to reach peak performance? Thyroid. That's going to impact your energy level. It has a big impact on your mood. So if you're someone who just feels kind of down, kind of sad, not super motivated, not sleeping well, sluggish energy, I go, could it be your thyroid? This is a why. Thyroid is also happens to be in our throat. It's the place of speaking our voice. And it is in direct correlation with the adrenals. There's something called the HPA axis, which is the hypothalamus, the pituitary, and the adrenals. I'm not going to get into it, but they are this tight-knit team, and they are in constant communication with our ovaries and our thyroid. Okay? Everything is tied together. Everything is significant. So our thyroid is going to impact our peak performance because it's going to impact our energy level and our sleep and our menstrual cycle and our mood. And so if you're like, yeah, I thought your weight, it's going to impact your weight, which is going to impact your confidence and how light you feel in your body. And you're like, well, I thought something was up with my thyroid, but I went and saw the provider and they said everything looks fine. And I go, all right, well, what test did they order? Thyroid, the best way to look at that is through blood. And I want to see your TSH as well as something called your free T4, your free T3, and your reverse T3. The main thing for you to know is even if a mainstream provider under an insurance model has told you, no, your thyroid looks fine, it might not be. I have a lot of women that come and then I take a peek and I'm like, no, this is subclinical hypothyroidism. This explains a lot. And there's a lot that we can do to support your thyroid. Okay. Your sex hormones. I talked about estrogen and progesterone. How's that going to impact your ability to reach your peak impact? Estrogen is proliferative. It grows things. It's creative. Okay. So for women, as they're going through perimenopause and menopause, often they don't feel so inspired by the same work. They're like, what happened? So we get to find creative ways to bring that estrogen in. A diet rich in phytoestrogen, some personalized supplementation, maybe some bioidentical hormones. Okay. Estrogen also helps to really maintain brain clarity. So does gut health, and so does thyroid, and so does cortisol. For those of you experiencing brain fog, it's kind of all affecting brain fog. Okay. Progesterone is going to help us feel content, grounded. Like think about the mother. Progesterone is the hormone of pregnancy. And for those of you that had crappy pregnancies, don't think about that part. Think about the part that's like, I'm I'm mothering. I'm creating life. And testosterone, that builds confidence. Testosterone brings on the libido, the strength, the confidence. It's going to peak when you're ovulating as well as right before you bleed. And for the women beyond menopause, it does this all the time. How can we help build it? We can, maca powder helps, getting great sleep helps. We produce the majority of our testosterone when we're in deep REM sleep. Okay. Having healthy DHEA levels is going to then convert over to healthy testosterone levels. And some also supplement with bioidentical progesterone. I'm not opposed to bioidenticals, especially when you're doing it in collaboration with diet modification, personalized supplementation, mindset work, trauma release. Okay. Cortisol, how is that impacting our ability to experience our peak impact? That's fight, flight, or freeze. I talked about that a bunch yesterday. If I'm just here fighting, that's not a peak experience. That's not getting me to where I want to go. If I'm just running, or if I'm frozen, I can't take a step. I'm afraid to take a leap. We're talking a lot about leap of faith in the midst of this time. And I don't mean to be facetious or make fun. Like this is serious for many of you. But cortisol, what will happen is I'll look at your 24-hour cortisol curve. Oh, so when I order these, so sex hormones, I like to see this through urine. The Dutch test is my favorite. It's dried urine total comprehensive hormones. So I can see where's your estrogen, your progesterone, and your testosterone at a specific time in a 28-day cycle. If you're beyond menopause, you can do it at any time. And then I can also see what does your body do with the hormones? How does your body get rid of the hormones? And that gives us a lot of information. And the Dutch Plus, I'm able to look at your cortisol over a 24-hour period. We want it to come up in the morning. That helps you prepare for your day. We want it to go down at night. And instead, I'll see women that are like stress, 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 and it's just cortisol, 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 cortisol. You're not good. That's going to be really difficult to create your peak experience or to have big impact in the world because you're stressed out. When you're stressed out, your body's not producing hormones. You don't have brain clarity. Your gut's not digesting and your immune system is not being turned on. Or I'll see where the cortisol curve is flat, and that tells me you've been overdoing it for too long, burning the candle at both ends, and now we're into adrenal fatigue. And we've got some time to rebuild. Dopamine. Dopamine is the hormone of I got it done. Get her done. I make a to-do list, and you know how good it feels to check it off? Like, oh, I did it. That's dopamine. It's also the hormone of addiction. Okay. So we have this fine line. And when I look at your Dutch Plus test, I can look in your organic acids at what's going on with your dopamine receptors. And for those of you doing adaptogens, you know, especially if you work with me, we're all doing adaptogen elixirs. Mucuna is one that really supports dopamine. And we want dopamine. We also want serotonin. Serotonin makes us feel connected, makes us feel happy, make us feel part of a bigger role in the world, right? Now, ironically, 90% of our serotonin comes from our gut. So why do you think I order a GI map with most of my clients and we look at your poop? Because I want to see what's going on with your gut health, because I want you producing serotonin, not necessarily going directly to an antidepressant, which is a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor most of the time, but actually helping your body produce its own serotonin. And when your body produces its own serotonin, then at night, when the lights go out, your body knows how to produce melatonin and go to sleep. So now we get to have the impact that we're wanting to have in the world, experience peak experiences, feel proud of ourselves, feel happy and connected, and sleep well at night. Vitamin D is called is a vitamin. It's actually a hormone. Directly impacts our immune system and our mood and our energy level. Okay. I feel like I've been talking a lot. In the chat, one word. One word. Whatever it is for you. How are you feeling? What's coming up for you? Aha. Something that's felt profound. I see building, creating, serving, deep, meaningful connections, quality time. These are peak experiences for me. Yeah. And Stacy says the tracker link isn't working. And she put the link back in there. There we go. How many milligrams of DHEA is recommended to start? Julie, I can't give those type of recommendations without you being a client of mine. I would need to look at your Dutch test to see where is your DHEA now and where is your DHEAS, as well as where's your estrogen. Because here's the deal. If someone who's listening just randomly goes and starts taking DHEA and you are actually in a place with estrogen dominance, or your estrogen is going down a pathway that predisposes you towards breast cancer, colon cancer, ovarian cancer, then I'm doing you a disservice to recommend DHEA. And with that being said, generally for a woman who starts, it's usually like a 5 milligram. My vitamin D has been dangerously low for lots of my life. Yuck. So we need to definitely talk about that, Angel. And Marissa, same with vitamin D levels. Okay. Thyroid blood tests. Okay, I'm glad that that was helpful. Literally. That's your word. I love it. Literally. Because shit is getting real for real. Y'all are funny in the chat. Balance, enlightening, grateful, intimate, deep, loving relationships. Yeah. I want to talk about this feminine push-pull energy as well as thinking versus feeling. We have a half an hour left. And Christy, can I just put you on the spot for a second?
Sure.
Okay. I want to take a break from talking because I feel like I'm talking a lot. And I don't know about you guys, when it comes to learning style, it's nice to see it written. It's also nice to switch things up a little bit. So for those of you that don't know Christy, she is an alumni of the program. She's also the co-founder of this amazing technology called REST, which stands for Rapid Reprogramming Emotional Stress Technique. For all the women that come in and work with me, I highly recommend that we include in your package rest sessions, and Christy does them. And so when I think about feminine energy versus masculine energy, I think of it as pull versus push. And so I have another visual that I want to just share for the visual learners. Just for you to, hey, that's not what I wanted there. Just for you to kind of sit with a little bit, and hopefully this helps. So my hope is for the ambitious woman that's really wanting to elevate her leadership, libido, and love relationship, that we can start spending more of our time here in this pole space, in this feminine space. And that's the space of desire versus willing it to happen. It's the space of listening into our intuition, at times more than our logic, particularly during that fall time and winter time, to listen into the knowing versus the thinking, right? To be more flexible versus controlling, to feel rather than think, to allow ourselves to be in receiving energy more than producing. That does not mean you're not in producing. Listen, I am a CEO. I produce lots. And I know that it will not work if I am in constant push energy. And even for the men out there, it also will not work if they're in constant push. There has to be a balance here. But I would like to encourage you to create space in your day and your week and your month and your year and your chapters for more spontaneity and circular. Think about when women get together. You got a group of 5 of us out at a bar. Our conversations are circular. We could talk about 20 different topics all in the midst and we're laughing and there's side conversations. It's non-linear. It's just how we be. It's how we communicate with one another. And we like to be able to just feel heard. I don't need a solution. I just want to talk about it. To allow ourselves to be in flow and to spend time in being. And so I'm hoping that today you're like, oh, okay, huh. These honoring my dynamic rhythms, starting to track if you don't bleed. And go, where is this rhythm showing up? Where am I? Where's the moon? And where can I allow some space to spend a little bit more of my time here? Just a little bit more of my time in that pull energy. And what happens then is we feel it. We all know what it's like to be in a room with a woman who is fully embodying pull, magnetic, confident, loving, not trying to prove herself, approachable, graceful, wise, but potent. She can be in her push, in her masculine, in her get her done achievement space, and she is fully able to embrace that feminine power. Think about a river. The push, the masculine is the banks. The feminine, the pull, that's the water. It flows. Okay. Okay, thinking, feeling, and then how do I currently receive? I've got 15 minutes left. How can I cover it all? And I'm just gonna cover what I need to cover. Okay, so thinking versus feeling. Ask yourself right now, how many expert hats am I wearing? I'm the expert at all these roles in my business. I'm the expert in the household in all these ways. I'm the expert as a mom in all these ways. I'm an expert in my health in all these ways, trying to do it myself. And my question to you is, where can you take one of the hats off and bring in your inner counsel to relinquish some of that control and allow a little bit more flow? In this setting, you're taking off your I'm the expert of my health hat off and saying, let me receive from someone I trust. Let me trust that I'm here. We're energetically exchanging. I'm here for the right reasons and I'm receiving. Okay. To be able to get out of our thinking, right? The leader, the go, 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 and to allow ourselves to start feeling a little bit more. Okay. My question, I guess my next question is, how many of you overthink? How many of you overthink? Put it in the chat, overthink. I overthink. I hem and ha, and I analyze things. Mm-hmm. I see you, Carrie. Yeah, I see you, Nicole. I see you, Jana Lee. I see you, Julie. Yeah, absolutely. Overthink. I see way overthink. Yes, Erica, totally. Everybody's saying overthink. And we all know that overthinking, let me ask you, is overthinking getting you what you want? And how is overthinking impacting our results? No, it's not, right? You want change, but then you overthink your way out of it and end up back in that cycle of disempowerment that I talked about yesterday, right? Because we're overthinking it. I don't know what to do. I've tried it before. Oh, maybe I'm not ready yet. Thinking will be a great way to take you out of change. So here's this problem. I want it to change. I'm going to think my way out of it. The conscious mind works on current facts. I've tried all that stuff. I'm going to act based on where I am, and change, not safe for the conscious mind. So we think our way out of it. Ready? Right? Versus, am I ready to hear it? Am I ready to try? Am I ready to trust? Am I actually ready to try? And what if instead we act in the energy of who we want to be and we feel it? Particularly for those of you that know where you are in your cycle right now, then you know, ooh, times in the month where it's even more potent when we allow ourselves to feel it, right? And then we act in faith on the feeling. So I heard this quote, I love it. A thought without faith is futile. So if you are sending thoughts and desires out without faith, you're actually affirming the lack of the thing that you desire. So I'm saying I want this thing, but I'm going to overthink it. And I don't actually believe that it's ever going to happen. So you are literally affirming the lack of the thing. So how do we develop faith in something that's unseen? And I think, and I don't think, I'm not going to erase that 2-word sentence. We believe in something and then we see it. We believe in the possibility with faith and it's created. And faith has a feeling. So my question to you is, what does it feel like to not have faith? Think about, just take yourself to a place where I can't believe, I'm skeptical, I'm questioning it. Feel that. I don't know. What does it feel like? Where do you feel it in your body? For me, I feel it in my stomach and I feel it in my chest. It feels heavy. It feels gripping. My energy feels sluggish and heavy and dark. It doesn't feel very good. It doesn't feel very hopeful. Now, what does it feel like to have faith? So take your place to, I'm going to turn the water on the spout and water is going to come out. I'm going to sit on this chair and I'm going to have faith that it's going to hold my weight. I'm going to take a breath and know that oxygen's going to come in. I have faith. I know that those things are going to happen. What does that feel like? For me, I feel it light up in the top of my head. I see the color purple. I feel hopeful. I want to smile. It feels up, like my whole body went shoop. So if we focus on what we want, the solutions that we are desiring, and we allow faith to be infused, even potentially without evidence today, but choose to have a leap of faith and act in the version of ourselves that we are choosing to become, and feel that. And so I encourage each of us to go, okay, how can I spend more of my time in pull? How can I honor my rhythms? And where can I allow myself to feel? And take some leaps of faith and stop thinking my way out of it. I had a story that I wanted to share here, but I also want to make it through. I think I'm going to skip that story. I think the big thing to say out loud is we all know that our health is suffering because of these loops that we're in. Right? We're saying that we want to feel better. I don't want to feel so tired. I don't want to have the irritability. I don't want to have the weight. I don't want to feel so flat. I want to look in the mirror and recognize who I see. But do you really? Are you actually open to taking that leap of faith? Act today in the embodied version of who you're wanting to become and take that leap of faith. and try on something new that maybe feels very different. But what if? We get to receive. Okay, so take a breath. You just received some oxygen. How good does that feel? You get to receive right now. You're here and you're receiving from all of us that are here sharing in this space together. And that will influence, for those of you that have team members, how you delegate to your team. It's going to influence your libido and your turn on and your depth of feeling really connected and seen in your relationships. Right? It's going to give you more energy to be able to give because you're like, wow, I know how good it feels to receive. And when I'm giving, that requires that someone on the other end is open to receiving what I'm giving. And so if I'm open to receiving, I'm giving someone the opportunity to give their gifts. This is a two-way street here, my friends. I was saying to the woman who runs my marketing agency, I just want more ears. I want it makes me want to cry. I just want my words to land on more ears because I have so much to give. And I just want people to receive it. It feels so good when you're open to receiving it. And it also feels so good when we choose to receive. I did a week-long retreat studying Peruvian shamanism. And the Quechua people have a word called Aini. It's Ayni. Aini stands for sacred reciprocity. And what they say is that when you look in nature, everything is in balance. Everything's in sacred reciprocity. The trees are breathing in what we are breathing out. We're breathing in what they're giving us. The animal kingdoms are keeping themselves in balance. And when something is out of balance in that relationship between giving and receiving, they say that's where all ailment comes from. Cancer, depression, whatever it may be. And so I get to ask you, how are you receiving? Right? How are you receiving? If there's an imbalance, how do you receive gifts? How do you receive accolades? How do you receive the nutrients from the food that you eat? How do you receive support when it's time to delegate and say, I need help and hire a team? When it's time to have support with your children and it's offered up, how do you allow yourself to receive? Can you receive your partner's hands? Can you receive oral sex? I remember when I was volunteering in Ghana at the labor and delivery unit. I was early in my midwifery career, and I asked the midwives there, "What do you guys do to handle postpartum depression?" And they laughed at me. They said, "Do you think we have time and energy to deal with postpartum depression? We're trying to keep women alive." And I go, y'all, we have the privilege of feeling spectacular. We have the privilege of feeling spectacular. Please don't squander it. All right, y'all are awesome. Thank you for all of your time. Thank you for showing up. Big appreciation.